going on, guys? My name is Austin. This is the Bodies in Business podcast. And today we're going to talk about keeping it simple in the health and wellness department using the FLY5. I'm going to go over the FLY5 really quick with you. The FLY5 consists of these 5 things: water intake, movement every day, an eating window, sleep, and then sunlight. Okay, so those 5 things are a well-rounded view of your day-to-day that you should be doing from a health and wellness standpoint. I'm going to go into detail on what those FLY5 are really quickly, and then we're going to dive into a little more each one and how you can get those done. So, water intake. You should be drinking at least 80 ounces of water a day, okay? You burn around 60 to 100 ounces of water just from normal biological processes. And so they recommend doing about 80 ounces a day just from the life that you live and circulation and all these other things. So 80 ounces of water. Then you need to move every day. It's recommended by the American Heart Association to get at least 15 minutes of vigorous exercise or 30 minutes of light to moderate exercise every day. But one good rule of thumb that I like to stick to is either get 7,000 steps in every day, which a step counter or a wearable can really help with that. So either get 7,000 steps in a day or do at least a 15-minute HIIT workout, okay? If you stick to those 2 things, you'll be in pretty good shape. And then the third thing is your eating window. It has been recommended by many researchers that having a 12-hour eating window or less is super helpful for your digestive system and also just by weight management and being able to stick to a certain calorie intake. So what does a 12-hour eating window look like? If I take my first bite of food at 8 a.m., I would need to take my last bite of food at 8 p.m. So that's a 12-hour eating window. Now, some people are going to, say that intermittent fasting is like 8 hours or 6 hours or just one meal. But research has shown that having a 12-hour eating window gives us enough time to get in enough calories, protein, carbs, fats, and all those things, and then also have time to digest that food. So you can bring that 12-hour eating window up or back. Some people get up super early, like 4 or 5 o'clock. And so maybe you want to bump your eating window up to around 6 or 7 and then finish eating dinner around 6 or 7 p.m. And that'll give your body enough time to digest as well. But that 12-hour eating window is what you want to stick to in the beginning. And then your sleep, we want to get around 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We want to have a good sleep schedule when it comes to getting ready to go to bed. And then, or at least we want to have a good sleep routine, right? We want to have things that we brush our teeth, wash our face, put on our sleep clothes, that type of thing. And then 3 other things that really help with good sleep is going to bed and waking up at the same time, bringing your temperature down in the room to around 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Between that temperature, they say is very good for deep sleep because you want your body to actually drop in temperature 1 to 2 degrees in Fahrenheit. And then have your room as dark as possible when you try to sleep. So those are the 3 things: going to bed and waking up at the same time as best as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but that really gets your body ready to go to sleep. Blackout curtains, if you can. If you can't do blackout curtains, make your room as dark as possible. And then temperature, because sleep it might be one of the most important things out of everything, because getting good sleep allows you to want to do more in the health and wellness industry or health and wellness department of your life, because it makes you feel good. And if you don't get good sleep and you're not well rested, then you're not going to want to perform at your best. You're just going to want to survive. And then the last thing is actually sunlight exposure. And this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of health and wellness, because the sun is pretty much there 80 to 90% of the time, unless it's raining or it's cloudy or something like that. When we don't notice it's there. My wife and I were actually talking about this yesterday, where it's like, man, it's crazy how the sun being out can actually make you feel happier, make you feel more wanting to do stuff. And then when it's gloomy outside or raining, you definitely feel that absence of the sun. Researchers say that you want to get around 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight to get an adequate amount of vitamin D. And you want to wear basically short sleeves or shorts so that your body can actually absorb that sunlight. But one of the more important reasons that you want to get sunlight first thing in the morning within an hour of waking up, and you want to get outside if you can, is getting about 2 to 10 minutes of sunlight in your eyes. You don't have to stare directly at the sun, but getting that 2 to 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning actually signals to your brain and body that it's time to wake up, and you start producing more hormones that allow you to want to wake up. There's this molecule called melanopsin that actually is the wakefulness molecule that it's the opposite of melatonin. And melanopsin, when we see blue light, is actually produced in the body and wakes us up. So that's just one, little tidbit there of why you want to get up and see the sunlight in the morning. Even if it's a cloudy day, you can still get outside for, a little longer, because it's not going to be, the lux of light aren't going to be as strong, but you want to get outside. So things that you want to do every single day. And that's like investing in yourself every single day. And it's not like, I'm not saying go to the gym for an hour or, drink a gallon of water, or drink 2 gallons of water, work out twice a day, or, you have to get 9 to 10 hours of sleep. No, these are the things that are, I call them the Roth IRA of health. And these things will actually, over time, start to compound on themselves, because you're going to have more energy. You're going to feel better. You're going to be in better shape. You're not going to be getting sick as often. I still get sick. I still feel bad. And, I still don't get great sleep sometimes. And, all these things happen. But when I focus on doing these 5 things every single day, I feel very accomplished when it comes to my wellness. And that's something that we need to understand is like, we're not going to remember every single thing that we did in a day. But if we have 5 things that we can check off that we say we did from a wellness perspective, you're doing pretty well. You're probably in the 95th to 99th percentile when it comes to wellness. And what I'll say is, these things used to be just a normal part of life. Like, we didn't even have to think about being outside, because we were outside way more than we are now. And we didn't have to think about moving as much as we do now, because we weren't as sedentary as we are now. We didn't have to think about sleeping that much as we do now, because back in the day, we didn't have Netflix. We didn't have things you could watch on demand all the time. The same thing with water intake. We have a million different drinking options that we can have when it comes to liquids that we can take in. And so I understand that. Like, your water is probably not your first choice when it comes to something you want to drink. So it's good to just be aware of all that, because you just are in your environment. You are being told, like, don't do these things. You're being told, hey, you should drink something other than water. You're being told, hey, sit at your desk or sit on a couch and watch TV, sit at your desk and do your work. Eat at all hours of the night, because you have fast food restaurants or just food available to you 24/7. Don't go to sleep. Watch TV, watch different movies, watch different shows, stay up. And, I know it's not going to always be the case where you're going to want to go to bed early, but people are always trying to make you stay up later. I remember last night, my wife wanted me to stay up later, and I was like, I want to go to bed because it's been a long day and I need to get some sleep so I can do this video. That's just the thing, is like, and then from a sunlight perspective, no one is telling you, a lot of people aren't saying like, hey, you need to get outside and get your sunlight. It's like, no one even cares almost about sunlight exposure. And we need to understand that that's very important. So just knowing those things, that you're going to get some friction up front. I have my own schedule most of the time. So I get to say and do what I want to do probably 80 to 90% of the time, because I run my own business and I've built myself up to know these things I need to have in my life in order to live a healthier life. So I have prioritized these things heavily in my life, because I feel like the return that I get on that investment is super high over a long period of time. In the short term, doing all these 5 things in one day isn't going to make you Superman or Superwoman. They are going to, you probably won't even notice. You'll just be like, oh, that was a good day. But if you do it for 3, 6 months to a year, and then 5 years to 10 years, you're just gonna be like, man, this is my way of life. So I want to go over a few topics that I know that can prevent people from doing these FLY5 really quick, because I'm not an idiot. I know people live like lives, and the environment that you live in isn't always conducive to the things you want to do. So first, I think everyone's plate is super full. Everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old. Everyone's plate is just filled to the brim, and we're piling stuff on top of it. We want to do everything there is to do under the sun. And we also have a ton at work. We have a ton of family obligations. We have things we want to do with our friends. There's trips we want to go on, all these things. And then from a day-to-day schedule, some people have to take their kids to school, then they have to go to work, then they have to take their kids to a practice, then they have to do more work after they take their kids to a practice. They want to be able to talk to their family and friends. They have to cook dinner. They have to get food ready. Like, it's very overwhelming for people, because their plates are so full. And that's what I want to recognize first, is that I understand that we have so many things that the environment that we live in has said you need to do. Whereas a lot of times we need to look back at what our schedule is and see how we can prepare ourselves to succeed the next day or the next week or something like that. Going to get groceries at the beginning of the week, or honestly, taking some things off your plate and understanding that if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do all the things you want to do at the highest level. We want to do a million different things, whereas we need to focus on like a handful of things and do them the best we can. Now, some people are like, well, I have to do all the million things that I have to do in my life. But I would say, take a step back and see what is a mandatory thing that you have to do in life. In order for you, like this comes down to, I think, the working out piece most of all, and also like the eating piece, because we are go so much time in the day that we don't really think about, okay, I need to take some time for myself and work out, or go ahead and plan for that time. And then also prepare food for me to eat so that I know I'm getting a healthy diet, 80 to 90% of the time. There's no foolproof plan to creating a perfect schedule for yourself. I think it's a matter of sitting down and really mapping out what you need to do throughout the week, and then also getting down to the nitty-gritty of like, how can you provide time for yourself during the day so that you can work at your optimal state, right? Like, I know not a lot of people feel like they even have time to sit down and schedule out that type of stuff, but in order for the FLY5 to be effective, you need to be able to schedule things and stick to those schedules. And I know that a lot of times schedules get completely thrown out the window when things come up. So I understand that happens, but I would say 80 to 90% of our days are roughly the same. And so if you can get on a good schedule of doing the things you need to do that are in your best health, 80, 90% of the time, you'll be on the right track. One, our plates are full, and we need to be able to clear those plates out a little bit and make them less full. Figure out what your calorie burn rate is, either on the back of a napkin or ask ChatGPT. I literally just plugged into ChatGPT. I said, I'm a 5'10", 185. I'm 5'10", 185. I'm fairly lean and muscular. What is my body fat percentage? And what is my daily caloric burn rate? It said my body fat percentage is probably around 12 to 15%. And my daily caloric burn rate is around 2,400 to 2,900 calories. And that's because I work out and I walk around most days. But just knowing your caloric burn rate is super helpful. And it's not going to be perfect. So that's what you don't have to have it absolutely perfect caloric burn rate, because it's always changing every day, even by 100 or 200 calories, depending on what you're doing for the day. So having just a baseline of like, I burn 2,500 calories in a day. And if you want to be in a caloric deficit, then you can eat less calories. Okay. And that's not to say like calories are the only thing that's important in this world. A lot of times we don't even figure out what is our daily caloric burn rate, and we don't figure out what we need to eat in order to lose weight if that's our ultimate goal. Now, in the beginning, just by eating like in this 12-hour window, that will be super helpful for you to understand what you can eat and the most beneficial diet plan for you. That's why the eating window is so helpful. Now, someone asked me the other day about supplements. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people, when you find yourself at a point where you're like, I'm ready to do this thing because my back's against the wall and I feel unhealthy. I want to feel healthy. I want to lose weight. I want to be better than I am today. The first thought is like, how can I do it the quickest way possible? And I think everyone thinks about that, even from a money standpoint, or even from just like a life standpoint. There's so many things in life when we want to do something, we want to do it the fastest way possible. And so people think, okay, what supplement can I take in order for this to make it go faster? But what I think that could be a false, way, not a false way to do it, but it can be detrimental if you think the only way you can lose weight or be healthy is by taking a certain supplement. The reason why I say that is because this person was like, what do you think about me taking creatine or protein or, different type? I heard about this one supplement. This guy lost like 30 pounds. Do you think I should take that? And in the beginning, you need to keep it simple. The only supplement I think that is very helpful is caffeine. And you can drink that with your coffee. You don't want to drink a lot of sugar when you drink caffeine. But if you're drinking coffee or something like that, that's a supplement, I believe. And that's like the only thing that I think people can stick to. Don't worry about taking creatine. Don't worry about taking any crazy supplements. If you want to take some type of like green powder so you can hit your micronutrients and minerals, then that's great. But don't feel like you have to take any supplements in the beginning, because then you're just going to be focusing on that instead of doing the normal things like drinking water, getting sleep, working out, those types of things. You don't want to be focused too much on the supplements, because then you're going to be able to do your wellness journey without the supplements, because you need to be able to do that. And then that doesn't mean that like if your doctor or somebody tells you to take certain supplements, that's something you should do. But if you want to try to do things as simple as possible, cutting out supplements is super helpful, because then you don't have to worry about taking those every day. All right. I think about wellness like investing. And the reason why I think about it like that is because of a Roth IRA. When I was at the Air Force Academy back in 2008, this teacher showed me a Roth IRA sheet, and he said, if you start investing when you're 18 years old and you stop investing when you're 30, you'll be a millionaire if you invested in a Roth IRA and you maxed it out every year. And that really hit home for me when I think about the wellness perspective. Now, you can't just stop when you're 30, but if you start working out when you're younger, it's going to be much easier for you to maintain a healthy workout or a healthy lifestyle than it is when you're starting when you're 40, 45, or 50. Like, you're going to have to invest a lot more time in the beginning when you're that old, because you probably don't have as much muscle built up. Your bone density is probably not as high, and you may not be where you want to be from a weight perspective. But if you start working out in your late teens, early 20s, and you continuously work out, and you don't have to work out an hour a day, 2 hours a day, it's just 15, 30 minutes. It's nothing crazy. And it compounds over time. And so I think about investing in your health in the same vein, because a lot of times the smallest investment over a 30, 40-year period is what's going to be actually the most beneficial. And that's what the FLY5 are. The FLY5 are your Roth IRA of health, because they're nothing crazy. 15 minutes of a hit workout, getting 15 minutes of sunlight, drinking 80 ounces of water. Those aren't abnormal things. You're not climbing Everest every day. But if you do those things over 30 or 40 years, you're going to be feeling like you are a healthy individual. So it's like investing, right? All right. One of the biggest killers in the wellness world is inconsistency and distractions. A lot of times people want things to happen, yesterday. And I think people think, okay, if I do the FLY5 one day and I, take tomorrow off, and do the FLY5 the next day, take tomorrow off, and you do it like every other day, people are like, oh, well, I'm doing it, I should see results. Whereas most times, the more consistent you are with smaller habits, the easier those habits become, and the more better effect you'll see over the long term. And so when I say the biggest killer of progress is inconsistency, is because a lot of times we bite off more than we can chew. So a lot of people want to try to do something like 75 hard. And that's like working out for 2 hours a day, reading like 10 pages of a book. It's like, man, or, drinking a gallon of water, doing all these things. And it's like, it's very, very tough to be consistent with that when you're trying to mix it in with your everyday life, right? Habits that we instill in ourselves we want to be able to do them in our normal life. We don't want to have to shut everything down so that we can be healthy. And then when we go back to our normal life, we're unhealthy again. It's like The Biggest Loser. They did a documentary on that. And I was so fascinated by when someone is in a boot camp, when all they have to focus on is their health, when they go back into the real world, it's like, okay, well, you're not in your boot camp anymore. It's very tough to like do exactly what you were doing at the boot camp than you will be doing in your real life, because you have to go to work. You have people around you. You don't have a trainer. You don't have people making your food all the time. So like, that's the real benefit of doing these small habits, is you want them to fit into your life somewhere. You don't want to have to turn your life upside down in order to make healthy change over a long period of time, because you're not going to be able to just shut out the entire world and make these things happen for a long period of time. You're going to have to bring the world into your life, your family, your friends, all these things, because that's part of it. You want to be around people. You want to be able to have a good job. You want to be able to have a, productive life. And so, that's why having these small actions is super important. I would say boredom. A lot of people get really bored at doing these simple habits. And this is where I would say novelty is super important. And what I mean by novelty is doing new things, or giving yourself a break to like try a new restaurant or eat, something outside of what you normally eat. going out with friends and doing something that is, because life is an experience. I think a lot of people think, okay, if I eat like this or if I have this lifestyle 80-90% of the time, my life is going to be super boring. But what I'll say is I find myself to be super productive in my pursuit to build fly bodies because I am super boring. It's like 80-90% of the time, I know what I'm going to eat. I know what I'm going to work out. I know all these things. And then the other 10 to 20% of the time, I don't know what I'm going to do with family or friends, or if people are going to ask me to do something. And so then I get even more excited about doing that stuff because I don't do it super often. And I make this analogy to like eating cake. If you ate birthday cake every single day of your life, you would get bored with eating birthday cake because you would be like, oh, like I want to change up the type of birthday cake. I want to eat ice cream. I want to do something else. People just get bored of doing just the same thing over and over, no matter what it is. Even if you went to Six Flags every day, you would get bored with going to Six Flags every day. So our boredom isn't a bad thing. It's just a matter of, okay, how can I introduce some novelty into my boredom consistently, either every week, every month, and that type of thing, so that you don't feel like you're missing out on life. All right. And that is why I think people feel like my diet sucks or my workout sucks, or, I'm not getting to hang out with friends and stuff. It's a matter of you're not going to always get to do everything you want to do in that certain moment, and it's not always going to be new. A lot of times, the things that you do consistently over time are the things that actually make you the best at what you want to do because it was so boring, because it was so monotonous, and you were able to stick to it. I'm gonna talk about 2 more things or 3 more things, and then I'm done. Friends and family can be super helpful or super difficult when it comes to your wellness. They can be super helpful if they're encouraging you, if they're doing these things with you, if they want you to succeed, or they can be a barrier to your goals if they are constantly telling you, hey, don't worry about it. Like, you can eat these bad foods, or you can eat outside your window. You don't have to worry about drinking water. You can do that later. Don't worry about going to work out. It's okay. Like, I'm not going to work out either. You want to be around people that are encouraging you to be healthy because that means they care about your long-term health. Now, in your short term, there are certain times where people are like, hey, I want you to stop crying because I want you to be happy. Here's a lollipop, or let's go do something fun. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's super normal. But you want people to think about your long-term health and have that in mind when they are around encouraging you to do stuff, because as you get older, your health starts to play a bigger and bigger role in the things you can do in life. Like when you're young, you don't even think about it much because your body's so resilient. But as you get older, you start missing out on things you actually want to do because of your health potentially. And even when you get super old, like 70, 80, 90 years old, you're going to want to go do things with your friends and family because you've been around for a while and you want the last years of your life to be meaningful. And you don't want to be in a bed or in a wheelchair or something where you're not mobile or you can't go do the things you want to do. And so that's super important now in the first 30, 40, 50 years of your life, is to understand that those back half of those years are going to be just as fun, hopefully, as the first half of the years you lived, if you are capable of living out those years in a fashion where you feel healthy, where you feel good, where you don't feel like you're hurting all the time. Okay. So friends and family, super important. Then I would say a lot of times people look at weight as a marker if you're healthy or not, and if you're making progress on your goal. What I'll say about that is, if weight is something that is going to motivate you to want to live a healthier life, focus on weight in the beginning. And it can be a very helpful metric that pushes you to want to do more. But what I also say is focus on actions you can control, because weight is not always something you can control. Okay, there's going to be ups and downs when it comes to weight. You're going to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're going to lose 5 pounds, then gain 3 back, that type of thing. What you need to focus on, hopefully, is the actions you're taking over time. Are you getting 7,000 steps in a day? Are you getting your 15-minute HIIT workout in every day? Are you getting your 80 ounces of water in every day? Are you getting at least 7 hours of sleep? Those are actions that are going to help you and make you feel better. And those are things you can check off the list. The weigh-in is a byproduct of those things. And those things that you're checking off the list are what you should focus on and say, hey, out of this week, out of these 7 days, I got my steps or a workout in all 7 days. And then you need a way to track that. So the FLY5 app is actually a great way to track that, because then you can go back and check and see if you actually did that stuff. And it's a good way, because documenting your journey is super helpful. actionable things that you can keep track of are super helpful on your journey, and not just weight or trying to look better is not necessarily the goal when it comes to longevity. You want to feel better over the years. And then the last thing I'll talk about is going back to like some legends that have probably done things, consistently over time. One thing that I really think about is Warren Buffett, and why I think about him when it comes to wealth and longevity is the guy just read annual reports like every single day about businesses and companies, and that's how he invested. He didn't do anything crazy. Everybody wants to know, like, what's the secret sauce when it comes to wellness? Like, what do I need to do? Like, what's the secret of being healthy? And the secret is just being consistent and doing things that you know are going to be healthy for you over the long term, day in and day out. Because if you don't do those things day in and day out, then you're going to wonder like, oh, what's the secret? Like, what do I need to do? Like, how do I jump the line? How do I, not have to do these FLY5? But the FLY5 are actually what's going to keep you healthy every day. It's like reading the annual reports. Another person that has gone through like so much work is like Mr. Beast. When he was making YouTube videos, when he was, 18, 19 years old, no one was watching, and he was just he was just making videos constantly, day in and day out. And that's the thing about being healthy, is you're doing these things day in and day out, and you don't necessarily know when you're going to actually understand like, oh man, this has been super helpful for me. And why I talk about Mr. Beast is because he didn't understand how big he was actually going to be just by making videos every single day and trying to be creative in the videos that he made. And he didn't, one of his videos was like counting to 1 million or something like that, or counting like rocks or something, or like just doing things that are super simple and just being repetitive. And the reason why I bring that up is because you don't realize that drinking 80 ounces of water a day is just going to make your skin, going to make your thoughts, going to help your brain, going to help your body, going to give you more energy. And over 10 years, you're like, man, I just feel better. My body feels better just drinking water, right? And so I just like talking about those types of people because they've been doing things day in and day out for a long period of time. You don't realize it, that doing those things day in and day out and the simple things and being an expert at the simple things is what actually is going to help you over the long term. So I probably said long term 1 million times this podcast. I hope those FLY5 help. I know I can harp on them a lot, but I even like to tell myself about them most days because I'm like, gosh, I need to get outside, or I need to, walk, or I need to drink more water. The sleep thing is huge for me. So you're never going to be perfect at them, but you can always strive to make yourself better in each area of the FLY5, and you will feel it over a long period of time. And don't get upset and don't get irritated if you're going through a rough patch in life where you feel like, hey, I'm not getting enough workouts, or I'm not getting enough sleep, or my eating is all over the place. These are meant to try to be helpful in turbulent times in your life, but it's not always going to be perfect. Okay. Just remember that. So that's all I got, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. The FLY5 over the long term is your Roth IRA of health. And if you have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out. That's all I got, guys. Get after it.